Today's Lunch and Learn is about the postpartum service agreement, postpartum services, and all things related. And with us today, we are going to walk through this with the being status Jodi Green. I'm Shawnee Katima. I'm the project coordinator. If you would like to take the time to introduce yourself in the chat, you're welcome.
Let's take a moment. I always love hearing who's on the call. So if you would be willing, you can wave, you can come off mute if you'd like to say hi. You can say hi in the chat if you would like. I would love to hear your name and what county you're in and how long you've been a doula.
I'll get it started. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Diana Chica, she, her, ella pronouns. I'm a new doula. I am new to this game, and this is day 8 of me being a postpartum doula with a partnership. So it's a brand new program. So we're like, it's in its infancy. We're trying to figure out how we're going to take this program and what services. Well, we know what services, but how to go about it, how to give clients, how to connect with them. So that's where I am right now. But I thank you. But I've also done some full spectrum doula in the last year and mostly focusing on being an abortion doula. So this from one end to the other, right? So, full spectrum. So yeah, very happy to be here.
Thank you, Diana. And I appreciate your clarification. I'm going to go on a really quick bird walk here. We've talked about bird walks on Lunch and Learns before. A little side trail. We're going to come right back. I so appreciate that you clarify when you say full spectrum that you are including abortion. We've had conversations about that I think it was on another Lunch and Learn in the past year, that term, as I know it, was originally introduced to specifically mean I include termination services as part of my doula support. And in fact, the first doula I ever met was someone who was full spectrum and included termination services in her client offerings. And it seems that, I wonder if this is true for others too, that people are using that word more frequently in a way that means either I do both birth and postpartum, or means I do birth and something else, right? It's almost like that. No, I'm not going to go down that path. They're like, I do birth and I do something else. And it may or may not. So I appreciate, again, that you clarified that and you're saying so. Intros, anyone else want to say hi? Who are you? What county are you in? And how long have you been a doula?
I'll introduce myself. I'm actually not a doula, but I support all of your work. And I am the NJDLC Administrative Assistant. My name is Danya Drinkard.
I don't know, Danya. I think you doula me more often than you know. For those who are new to the DLC, Danya is the right arm of everyone on the team, not just me. Danya is incredible. She's like, you know, the plate spinners at the carnivals who have like the 8 plates and they just go touch this one a little. That's Danya all the time, and she makes it look easy. Other folks?
I'm trying to turn my camera on. I don't know why it's not working, but okay, it's doing too much. It's telling me to go to privacy settings. I'm not doing that. My name is Aziza. I'm from Middlesex County, and I'm not a newly trained doula, but as far as like experience or client wise, I'm still kind of a newbie when it comes to that. I've done 2 trainings. My first training was with Ancient Song in Brooklyn, and I believe that was in 2018, 2019. And then I also trained with Mamisi doula with Diamond and Christina in 2020. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
So I'm kind of jumping back in with trying to just reintroduce myself. only because I think for me, like over the years, I kind of got like a little cold feet with my confidence. And but it's always been something that's kind of been like tapping my shoulder, like, you know, that this is something you're supposed to be doing. Like you're way too passionate about it. So just trying to just get over that and just trying to jump in, get back into just meeting people that are just like-minded and just doing it. Just going over deep end and just doing it.
Yeah. Thank you, Aziza, and thanks for being on the call today. Great to have you join us.
Thank you.
And I see you in the chat, Shawnee, also a full spectrum doula in Essex and Union County, and now in DeKalb County, Georgia. Georgia doesn't know what's hitting them yet. But they're about to. Excellent. Yes, Shawnee is part of our team who, this is her last day. Tomorrow, right? Tomorrow's last day. That's right, Georgia, better get ready. Wow. I am Jodi Green, and I'm one of the co-directors of the New Jersey Doula Learning Collaborative. I'm in South Jersey. I'm in Woodbury. Any farther south, I would be Delaware. So births that I attend are in like the Camden, Cherry Hill, Voorhees-ish, but I do go as far as Atlantic City or as far south as Delaware or Central Jersey sometimes too. And part of the Doula Learning Collaborative, we are an organization created by doulas for doulas to provide networking, connection, business building skills, continuing education, and support to doulas across New Jersey. One of the tasks that we help do for New Jersey is we are supporting with the process of New Jersey family care enrollment. I don't know if everyone on the call has heard, as of 2 years ago, Governor Murphy wrote it into being that doula service is now covered as a reimbursable benefit through New Jersey Family Care, and part of our role as the NJDLC is to support that process. So we have office hours every Monday and every Wednesday for anyone who wants to have a conversation, whether it's about, I want to enroll in family care, or it's, hey, this client is going through something I've never seen anyone do before, or I just got asked a question I had never heard, or this is an experience I had that I want to talk about. DLC is here for that. So we have, as I said, office hours twice a week. And if you come on to Wednesday office hours, you're there with me. I'm on Wednesday office hours from 1 to 3, and I welcome everybody on the call to come anytime. On Mondays, Danica is going to be back in September. She does Monday office hours, and we are always here to be of support. And we have quarterly in-person gatherings as well. I encourage you to check out our Instagram, check out our Facebook pages for our calendar updates, and our website, njdlc.org, for Doulas and Desserts, which is a quarterly gathering that we've got happening. It's not like a formal, here's our topic and we're going to have a presentation. It's doulas. We're going to get together and eat chocolate cake and talk about the last birth we went to, and talk about where to get the best scrubs or what shoes you're wearing. Right? It's just a chance for us to get together, to connect with each other. This is not a profession that can be done in isolation. We are not meant to be in this alone. We are not hardwired to be in this alone. We need each other. And so that's why the DLC is having the events that we are. And these are quarterly and they're regional. So there's one every quarter in North Jersey in Montclair, one every quarter in Central Jersey in Trenton, that's at our office, and one every quarter in South Jersey in Camden. And we also have quarterly live support for Medicaid enrollment, for New Jersey Family Care enrollment as well. So if you're working on your family care application and you need some help, there's a place you can go to show up in person and get that done. We also support doulas, as I said, in the continuing education part. And one of the questions that comes up a lot with doulas who are in practice is creating solid service agreements. So last month, we had a lunch and learn on creating a labor doula services agreement. And today I thought we would take a look at creating a solid postpartum services agreement. As always, the reason to have a service agreement is so that everybody knows what to expect from the very beginning, right? When we have those service agreements in place, it helps us create boundaries that allow us to do our practice sustainably, that help facilitate communication with our clients, and that just help our professional navigating work a little better. So on the New Jersey DLC website, which I will pull up here so I can share it, on our website, I will share my screen. Please do not judge me for how many tabs I have open. Because do you hear my daughter? Oh, the cheek. Close your tabs, she says. So this is the NJDLC website. And if you go to our website, under the resources tab right here in the doula toolkit, you'll see for doulas and doulas to be, we have our birth service agreement template. This is the template that we went over last month. And now we've added our postpartum services agreement template. You may use this template. This is here on our website for everyone to download. You may alter it. You may put your own information in it. You are welcome to use our template in entirety and make it your own. Let's take a look at what we might want to include in our postpartum services agreement. Your name, your email address, your phone number, your website. I also like to include my payment information. Right there under the identifying thing. I want people to know how to get money to me quickly and easily. And whatever I can do to make that easier, I'm going to do because I like getting paid and I want people to like paying me. So put your payment information in there as well. I think it's important to have an information statement in every service agreement. But before we dive there, does anybody remember from last month why we call it a service agreement and not a contract?
Yes, but I'm gonna let someone else go before I say the answer.
I wasn't there last month, but I'm assuming that it's being be changed and altered.
That's one very good point. Yes, if it is a service agreement, you may alter it to your liking with every single client. The legal reason that we use the term service agreement and not contract is that a contract is not legally binding unless it has been reviewed by an attorney. So if you have someone signing something that says it's a contract and then they say, well, I don't want to pay you, you can't say, well, you signed a contract, because unless an attorney reviewed it after they signed it, it is null and void. That is not a legally binding contract. A service agreement, on the other hand, is a mutual agreement. This document says, we agree with one another that this is what we're going to do. And as a service agreement with both of your signatures on it, it is a legally binding document, and they have to pay you if they signed a thing that says they have to pay you because they are consenting. It is an agreement and not a contract. So I like to have agreements that have an information statement. I put the difference between doulas and midwives on everything. I love to have statements, intention statements about what doulas do, because there's a lot of confusion out there. Really, doulas only attend 2% of births, and postpartum doulas are even less common than that. So a lot of people are just learning what doulas are. They don't know the difference between a postpartum doula or a doula who offers postpartum services and a baby nurse. And there's a huge difference. Whereas baby nurses have medical training and their primary responsibility is the baby only, postpartum doulas are family-centered and family-oriented and are going to support the family in being able to take care of their own baby. I quote my mom from time to time. I think my mom said it best when she showed up after my baby was born and said, I'm here to take care of my baby so that you can take care of your baby. I think as right, my mom's precious. As postpartum doulas, we bring that. I'm going to take care of everybody here so that you can take care of this baby when I'm not here. And all of the things that we're doing as postpartum doulas is taking care of the entire family in the moments when we're not there, when we left out. So postpartum doulas provide emotional and physical support for new parents, completion of basic daily tasks so that the family can bond, and information and education for the newborn period. Postpartum services may be used from the day of birth until the infant is 12 weeks old. We were talking about this earlier. If you are serving New Jersey family care participants, their benefits are now available throughout the entirety of the baby's first year. So if this is a service agreement that I were using and I was serving someone who was paying through New Jersey Family Care, not for postpartum services, but even for their postpartum visits, I would make sure to clarify that those visits are available up to the first year. Postpartum doulas do not diagnose medical conditions in the postpartum person or the infant, but will refer to a healthcare provider when appropriate. We can let clients know, I can't diagnose anything, but I can tell you when I think it would be a good idea for you to see your doctor or call your midwife. Postpartum services might include, these are some of the things we can do, continuous physical and emotional support. I will help you get out of bed and go to the bathroom. I will help you get in and out of the shower if that's what you need. I'm also willing to say, okay, hand me the baby. You go take a nap. We will come get you when we need you. We provide a listening ear for fears, frustrations, concerns, monitoring postpartum recovery, and answering questions. These are all the things our clients can outreach to us for. Baby care, education, and support, assistance in newborn bathing, feeding, comforting techniques, cutting the baby's nails, organizing the nursery or your home, and more. And this is up to you. What services do you offer as a postpartum doula? Feel free to personalize this and include things that you do. Maybe you don't do organization. I work with one doula who is absolutely adamant she does not fold laundry. I, on the other hand, love folding laundry. I will fold all of the laundry. Make it yours. Breastfeeding, supplementing, or bottle feeding support. As doulas, we are prepared to support our families in all manner of feeding choices and to help provide the key skills necessary for doing that easily and well. Preparing simple, nutritious meals. Find out, if you're someone who likes to cook, what the dietary preferences are of the families you're serving. Sometimes it might be true. It has worked here. I'll make a giant pot of soup that I know meets everybody's dietary needs. Half of it is here for my family for dinner, and half of it is going right in the fridge of my client, and it's going to be there for dinner after I leave so that they have the care that they need when I'm no longer there. Maintaining simple housework like laundry, vacuuming, and emptying trash. I know a postpartum doula who has in her service agreement that she will not do windows. I don't know who asked her to do windows. I don't know when or how that happened, but if it's important to you to say you don't do windows, here's where to say that. Watching the baby and older children so parents can rest. Now, this is an agreement that I bring to the initial consult, that I advise doulas to bring to an initial consult when you're meeting with a family face-to-face and you're talking about what services you might be able to provide postpartum. Talk about this part, go over this line by line, and on this line, make sure that people are clear that typically doulas are not to be left home with the baby or older children without the parents on site. I'm not there as a babysitter for the 6-year-old, but to be a caretaker for the family as postpartum doula. I will, however, watch children so the parents can rest or run errands. I let my clients know at this point, I will text you when I'm on my way to say, I'm on my way. Do you need anything? There is a Wawa and a Walmart between my house and theirs. I will stop and pick up whatever it is they need on the way. Financially, you can work that out with your family ahead of time. If that's something that you might add, things that you pick up for them, you would add to your invoice for the end of the week, or if you have discretionary spending arranged ahead of time, that's a conversation to have. Assistance with child-proofing the home. They might have one tiny baby that's 4 weeks old, but that baby's going to be mobile quicker than they might expect. So those are things that we can help families create a plan for when the baby is still very small. Assistance in creating a home schedule. Postpartum doula service availability and fees. I suggest to each doula have a minimum. What is your minimum shift? And what is your minimum total? In this agreement, it says a minimum of 2 3-hour shifts, a minimum of 6 hours total to retain services. I like a 3-hour minimum in a shift. I know some people do a 4-hour minimum. I wouldn't go any shorter than 3 because those 3 hours go fast. If you have a family that is paying with insurance or with family care, postpartum services might not be included in their insurance agreement. So that's an important thing for them to know and find out. I know specifically under family care, postpartum visits are limited. I think it's to 45 minutes, right? One visit, and you can't layer them. So you can't schedule multiple visits in a row to have a 3-hour shift. This is something that would need to be arranged privately, or if you work with a program that provides services through funding, but I suggest having a minimum in place. Services may be available during the day, evening, nights, and some weekends. What's going to work for you? There are postpartum doulas who only do daytime services when their own kids are in school. There are postpartum doulas who only do overnight services. There are doulas who will do day or night. There are doulas who will do evenings until 11. What works for you? What works for your own schedule? What works for your own well-being? Know that ahead of time so that you can just lay that out from the beginning, and people will know exactly what they can expect from your time. You will not feel burdened by someone asking for more time than you have available to give, and they will not feel uncomfortable about asking you for time that you may not have to offer if you outline from the beginning, this is what my availability is and when my services will be offered. A fee for postpartum doula services is, this line is intentionally left blank. Find out what postpartum doulas in your area are charging, because it varies widely from one area to the next. And you may find that the going rate in your local area is different than you had in mind. I think most postpartum doulas that I know of in South Jersey are charging between $35 and $50 an hour. It might be different in your neck of the woods. You can look on or ask around and find out what postpartum doulas are charging in your area. Regardless of the day of week or time of day, service is requested. This is another place where some doulas might make alterations. I know one doula who charges time and a half on holidays or on what she calls family holidays. So her birthday, her spouse's birthday, she'll work, but she charges time and a half. Or religious holidays, she'll work, but she'll charge time and a half. Decide if that's something that you want to do. In this agreement, it says this is the fee for the hour, regardless of the day or week of time of day. In the event that your doula is suddenly unavailable at your scheduled time, due to circumstances beyond personal control, you will be notified and given the opportunity to reschedule. There is no charge for days on which doula service is not provided. Now, if you work with a partner, if you work with an agency, if you work as part of a team and another person might be available, this would be the place to put in that a backup postpartum doula will be available in the event that you are not. Don't put that in your service agreement unless you know for sure that's true. I would like people to know ahead of time, if there are circumstances beyond my control, I will let you know as soon as I know, and you will not be charged for that day. Contracting services. Again, this line intentionally left blank so that you can choose your own dollar amount. Deposit is required at service agreement signing, which will be applied to your final week of care. So you may want to ask for a minimum. If they're expecting, for example, that they want 20 hours a week, you might ask for that final week up front, and then invoice at the end of every week for what your balance for that week is, and apply the deposit or the retainer to your final week of services. A care plan with your needs in mind can be created at the time of signing. So we're going to do this at this first meeting where we're going over this service agreement. We're going to talk about what they think their needs for support might be and what our plan will be for the immediate time period after their baby is born. I ask them to call me as soon as the baby is on the outside. And if they have arranged for postpartum care as soon as they're home, then we will plan on my being there by day 4. And you can talk this over. Another family might want only 1 day a week. One might say, let's start with 2 days a week and see what we need. And that's all okay. This is your opportunity to talk that through to make sure that everyone's expectations are consistent with one another. Payment may be made by a check or credit card. Here's where to include your preferred payment information again. What's your PayPal? What's your Cash App handle? What's your Venmo? And a small surcharge may apply. If people pay me through PayPal, I get charged a fee. I might ask for that fee so that I make my full amount. Discounts are available for widows and widowers and military families. You may choose to give discounts to educators, to essential workers, or you may choose to give no discounts at all, and that is fine. This is your practice. You can decide what you want to do with that. And then an opportunity for signature. I, the undersigned, agree to the terms and conditions stated above, and I fully understand the responsibilities of the doula as well as my own. Everybody signs. Client name, client signature, date, due date, and doula signature. And that is our postpartum service agreement. And again, if you would like to use this template, this is on the NJDLC's website, right here under the resources tab, community resources for doulas to be. And you'll see that on this same tab, this is also where the information is, where you can register for our lunch and learns and for our doulas and desserts as well. Right, that's on here. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And come back. So there is our basic postpartum services agreement template. You are welcome to use that, customize it, make it your own. If you do that, I ask that you leave the NJDLC on there for the copyright information, but it is widely available to use as you please. What things can you think of that you might include on a postpartum services agreement that we have not talked about here? Are there things that you know you want to offer, or things that you know you absolutely will not do?
I mean, I guess it depends on what credentials you have. Like if you happen to be a CLC or a lactation consultant, like obviously that can be added onto that. And yeah. And I feel like you also, right, you don't just get a client and be like, okay, that's it, that's my client. Like you have to interview one another. So you have to make sure that your values are in line. So like if you are completely against formula, then maybe that's not the person for you. But if you really, I mean, I feel like you should assist no matter what the choices are. Just make sure that they have the right resources and the right information to know how to best approach breastfeeding or just feeding in general. So I think that be added, but that's just if you have those potentials, right?
Yes. So Diana, you bring up a really good point, right? We're going to interview people. Let's play What Would You Doula for a moment. What would you doula? You go to an appointment with somebody and they seem really nice, but then they say, oh, well, we know that we're going to choose, and I'm not going to pick on any practice in particular. We know that we're going to do this thing. Is that a problem? And maybe it is. Maybe it is something that, oh, no, actually, I'm not comfortable with that. What do you do? What do you do?
Hey y'all, it's Sonia. How you doing?
It's Sonia.
Hey y'all. Hey, okay. So for me, in those type of situations, I understand as a doula, I'm here to support the birth that they want to experience. So irregardless whether I'm in disagreement, if they doing certain things, it's not about me. It's about them. So I'm going to support them and try to get them to as close as possible to having the experience that they want to have. Point blank and period.
Excellent. That's a great answer. Thank you, Sonia. I'm so glad you're here.
Okay, I'm glad I'm here too. Hey,
Yeah. So that's one option. It's right that we talk about in labor doula using the mantra, not my body, not my baby, not my birth. Not my body, not my baby, not my birth. This is not my body. This is not my baby. This is not my birth. And the same can be true for postpartum. There might be a time, though, when a family is making a decision that you know is really not in anybody's best interest. And I'm going to use a specific example. They're not, the family that did this is not going to find me because it was 15 years ago. I worked with a family once upon a time. And the partner in the household did not get home from work until about 8 o'clock at night. And he, in this case, did not want the baby to nap later than 2 p.m. so that the baby would be ready to sleep when he got home from work, so that he could take over and say, oh, okay, I'm on parent duty now, hand me the baby, and the baby would sleep. He did not want the baby to sleep any later than 2 p.m. and was adamant about it, would in fact criticize his wife for letting the baby sleep in the afternoon. Newborn, this baby was 2 weeks old. How many hours a day do 2-week-old babies sleep? Really a whole lot. There is no health benefit in any way to keeping this baby awake for a 6-hour stretch when this baby is not hardwired to be awake for a 6-hour stretch. This was destined to fail. He would come home mad that she let the baby sleep. And so the baby wasn't sleeping a solid chunk from 8 p.m. to midnight or whenever he thought the baby should be sleeping. Well, in this case, this is something that is actually not advisable. What do you do?
Suggest family counseling.
Right.
It's giving. They need to see. They need to talk to
Marriage
somebody.
therapy. That's probably a better suggestion than anything I could do in the moment.
Okay.
Right? They'll need to see somebody. But in the heat of the moment, what can we do with something like that?
I mean, we can sit them down and kind of have that conversation as to like, let them know of the sleeping patterns of a newborn and the benefits of sleep. You know what I mean? So like maybe they don't know that, because we have this, some people have this idea that once a baby is born that you can just like create a schedule for them and that's how they're going to sleep. So that's not ideal. So maybe they don't have that information. And or maybe just figuring out a different schedule for how they're going to parent. But yeah, no, definitely counseling first, because I don't.
Probably true. Yeah. Rebecca, I see your hand. What do you think?
I think kind of just understanding, maybe asking him where he got that idea from, like what is the goal? Like why does he want it to be on, why does he want the baby to be on the schedule? Like where is this coming from? I would want to know where did you learn that? Who told you that? Because oftentimes, again, in new parent world, you're like kind of told like it has to be done this way. And other people might say, well, my baby is sleeping, 8 hours straight and doing this. And so there's a comparison game that might also start happening. So it's kind of just like, where did you get that idea? And let's like unpack that a little bit more and understanding like the needs of a newborn. Are you talking to people that are referring to their baby that is an 8-month-old or a 9-month-old? Like that's a different range of babyhood than a newborn, right? And so understanding like, where are you getting this idea? Here are the sleep patterns of a newborn. And like understanding that just go with the flow of your child. Like you can't put a schedule on a newborn or any person, to be honest. Like think about it like that. They're a little human. Do you want to be forced to go to sleep or forced to stay up when you're extremely tired and thinking about like they have to grow so much in the newborn stage? I can go on and on because I had to deal with that as a new mom and like sleep triggering. But yes, just kind of understanding where'd you get that from?
Right.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, those open-ended questions, right? Tell me more about this. Help me understand how this is working for you. Help me understand what we're accomplishing here. Not in a confrontational way, but in a genuine, like, help me understand your point of view. And sometimes it helps to find out who somebody would receive information from. because sometimes it's not going to be me. In this case, the head of this household didn't want to hear anything that came from me that was not in complete agreement. But I asked who they might take that advice from. And he said, well, if the pediatrician told me that, I would listen. And I said, okay, let's call. Because this baby was screaming his head off. He was absolutely, utterly exhausted. This baby was being kept awake for 6-hour stretches at a time, and they're not programmed to do that. Right? So we called the pediatrician. I said, if the pediatrician tells you that that's an effective schedule, I will apologize. Turns out the pediatrician agreed with me, but also said that it was their baby and they could do what they wanted. But this is where the power of referral can make a big difference, because sometimes they're going to need to hear it from somebody who's not me. Sometimes somebody else might say it nicer than I would.
Also, what I've learned from elders is that most men only hear other men speaking when they're having these type of conversations. So it would be good maybe to talk to a male doula. You know what I'm saying? That would help. Or another father that has been through that experience, and he'll be able to hear. For some reason, men hear other men better. I don't know why, but that's how that goes.
Sometimes that's true. And sometimes, as doulas, and I find this to be true postpartum, people just need to hear it from somebody else. They just need to hear it from somebody, even though I know that the somebody else is going to tell them exactly the same thing I did. Exactly like you said, Sonia, maybe they need to hear it from a male doula, or maybe there's somebody else I can outreach to say, can my client talk to you? Knowing fully well they're going to tell them the same thing I did, but they need to hear it from somebody who's not me. Because as humans, we do this thing when we face difficulty. Sometimes the people that we trust also become the people to push against. We trust them and they're solid, and we know they're solid, so we push against them because it gives us clarity in where we are, right? Kind of like the kids with sensory issues that'll knock themselves against walls or bounce against their chair because it gives them awareness of where their bodies are in space. Sometimes the doula becomes the person to push against, and they need to hear it from someone else. And it's not because they don't like us anymore or anything like that. It's just kind of part of how humans function. So having our referral network in place is solid. Who can we reach out to that we can find support for? What are other things that we didn't mention that you might want to be sure you include in a service agreement? It doesn't say anything in here about transportation, but that is a question that sometimes is asked. Some doulas have in their service agreements that they will not provide transportation. Some doulas have in their service agreements that they will provide transportation. My car insurance does not cover me for medical transport. So as such, I let people know I'm willing to give you a ride, but my car insurance does not cover me for medical transport. We've got to be just really clear that that's not a professional service that I'm providing. That's a courtesy that I'm not charging you for. Because if I charge them for the drive, then that's medical transport. So it's outside of the scope of my service agreement. Other things that we want to be sure we include. How about personal holidays, days that you know that you will not work? If you don't work on Sundays, make sure it's in your service agreement that you don't work on Sundays. If you don't do overnights, make sure it's in there that you don't do overnights. If you don't stay overtime past your shift, make sure that that's in there as well. Or if you charge additionally, if you've stayed longer than you were scheduled for, do you charge additional fees for that? Do you have other services that you offer? Because if you are someone who is certified in teaching infant massage, throw that in your service agreement. If you have a background in nutritional counseling and you want to throw that in there, by all means, any services that you offer. If you have training in aromatherapy or in any form of mindfulness practice that you can support families in, feel free to include that as well. And be sure to include your boundaries of the things you absolutely will not do. Things you absolutely will not do. I don't stay alone in the home with the baby without the parents there. Your mileage may vary. Other things that you know you will not do, make sure that you include those as well. And that's it for our postpartum services agreement. Nikki, I see you in the chat. What about communication and referral processes for things like intimate partner violence? Yes, absolutely. I'm so glad you brought that up. One question that comes up sometimes is wondering whether we as doulas are mandated reporters. If someone discloses that they're experiencing violence or we witness this happening, the way that the law is written in New Jersey, all residents of New Jersey are mandated reporters. New Jersey does not specify by profession. They say if you are in New Jersey, if you live here, you are a mandated reporter if you become aware of intimate partner violence or domestic violence circumstances happening. Have your referral resources ready. Have your referral resources ready so that you can send people to help as needed.